Hello, my name is Elizabeth Cardoza Medeiros, and I will be doing Project Communications Management. Communication is an essential process of our day-to-day life. The entire world revolves around communication. The word communication comes from the Latin word communis, which means common. Someone should never take for granted that the receiver interprets our message the same way as the sender intends for it to be. Communication is not an absolute. To do this effectively, we need to consider all factors like the different realities, the space the communication takes place in, verbal as well as nonverbal messages, and what is the intended meaning versus what is the perceived meaning. Therefore, communication needs to be efficient and effective. Therefore, I hope to assist in understanding the communication process. Project Communications Management. Communications management is the systematic planning, implementing, monitoring, and revision of all the channels of communication within an organization and between organizations. It also includes the organization and dissemination of new communication directives connected with an organization, network, or communications technology. Aspects of communications management include developing corporate communication strategies, designing internal and external communications directives, and managing the flow of information, including online communication. Communication is a vital element. There are two main groups of people with whom the project manager needs to ensure clear and effective communication. It's the stakeholders and the project team. It is important to have an effective communication plan. Many projects have failed because of bad communication. Individuals need to communicate to achieve success in a team during a project. They need to recognize and understand their differences, create the appropriate message that needs to be communicated, deliver the message, and obtain the feedback. It is important that the message is delivered and understood between team members and the stakeholders. Planning communication. First, we must determine the project stakeholder informational needs and define an approach. Here we'll use the 5 W's of communication management. First, when does communication need to be distributed and updated? An example, do we need to send it weekly, daily, monthly? Next, which type of communication will work best? Do we have to have face-to-face meetings? Or can we do video conferencing? Third, what information will be included in the communications? For example, what type of information does the stakeholder want to be informed? Fourth, who will receive the information? The example being, will the information be sent to all team members and administration? Who are the persons who will be responsible for transmitting the information? Not everyone needs to be involved in sending information. We might decide that just the project leader will send and update the information. Next, which type of communication will work best for the project? A project team may use brief conversation in meetings with simple documents. Project teams may also be very technology dependent and use online accessibility for meetings and file sharing. Many have intranets and share the information internally. There are other types of group sharings. We use the G files. Technology can cause delays because of the availability, ease of use, sensitivity and confidentiality, and also depending on the need for the information. Communication model. First, we have the sender. The sender is the person who needs to initiate the communication, the person who is sending the information. Then we have the receiver. The receiver is the person who gets the message that the sender has sent. The medium. This is the thing that's used to transmit the message. An example could be a fax machine. Feedback is the response to the message. For example, a reply to an email. Noise is something that interferes with the message. Encode is to modify a message so that it can be sent. Decode, modify a message that has been sent so that it can be understood. Kinds of communication. We have formal versus informal, verbal versus nonverbal, official versus non-official, written versus oral, vertical versus horizontal. Examples of types of communication. We have formal written. An example would be the project charter. Informal written would be emails or memos. Formal verbal would be a speech. Informal verbal would be conversations. Non-verbal would be body language. In the article, Art of Communication and Project Management, I found an interesting tip. It says, did you know? Only 7% of our communication is verbal. 38% is conveyed through the quality of our voice, meaning our tone, volume, speed, and pitch. 55% is through posture, movements, gestures, and facial expressions, breathing, and skin color changes. Planning communication needed for projects. Meetings. A plan for communication process requires an initial face-to-face meeting to review and determine what is the best type of communication that will work for this project. The project team will need to review and decide what types of communication that they feel is appropriate for the stakeholders and the team to share the information. There are different methods of technologies that can be used. All of these need to be reviewed during the meeting and then distributed appropriately. Here is a communication plan. I have used this one with many of my projects at my current position. For example, our team briefing is restricted intranet within our facility. It is daily at 8 a.m. and it is distributed between the team and the stakeholders. We also have the weekly web post that is internal intranet. It is weekly on Fridays. It is usually posted I try to do it before noon, and it is to the team, the sponsor, and the senior administration. We also use the technical incident reporting, which is by email, which is immediately as soon as it happens, and that is to the webmaster and any IT department heads that I need to send this to. I have the budget and schedule, which are the spreadsheets on the intranet project sites that we create when we start the project. This is updated monthly, and it is seen by the sponsor and senior administration. We have the schedule milestones, which is also email and intranet, which is done weekly, and it's for all internal stakeholders. We also have the budget milestones, which is emailed and on the intranet, also weekly, and also to all internal stakeholders. We also have our top 5 risks that we are always updating, and that is always done by email and intranet weekly to all internal stakeholders. Communication filtering. Communication can be lost when it is not filtered properly. Some reasons for this is in all types of communication are ambiguous language, predefined mindsets, hidden agendas in the message content, the reputation of the sender's status in the organization, emotional behavior and body language, and environmental background. Communication obstacles. Political. Power games in the upper ranks, above the project managers. The members need to be identified that can cause this obstacle, and then steps need to be done in order to gain their confidence, in order to buy into the project. This is very important for the success of the project. The next obstacle is cultural. The organization's culture needs to be understood and corrections made to assist them to see the vision. This could be a language barrier as one example. This is seen too many times in many different organizations. Every organization has their own culture. Next, linguistic. The terminology for the different disciplines should be reviewed and shared. This assists everyone when trying to understand the jargon or abbreviations used when reviewing forms and graphs. It is hard when you're sitting in a meeting and you don't understand what the other discipline is referencing, if they are saying things that are in their language. Abbreviations, for example. If you don't understand it, it is very confusing to everyone. Thank you all for listening to my project in regards to communication. Please see the next slide for all the references that I have used for my project. Once again, thank you.